Hello, mamas. Welcome. I'm super excited to do another training in here. Today we're going to be talking about three actions that I think that you could take to really be able to stick to your spending plans a little bit more. So I'm really excited to do this training. I know many of you have talked about it. We talked about it in the group. There was a lot, you guys commented a lot about different ways that you're struggling with it. And so what we're doing today is really going to dive into that. So I want you to comment below. Let me know if you're watching it live or hashtag live or hashtag replay. Let me know if you're checking on the replay. I'm going to keep this up in the group for about 24 hours. So if you don't get access to it or you haven't gotten to see it, I will offer it. I'll put a separate post and send it out in links. I find if I remove it from the group, it makes just things better. So you will get access to it if you like. So let's dive into this training because I know you don't have very much time. Let's go ahead. Let me switch over here. Give me a second. Hopefully technology works better this time. We're going to add, and you can see my screen. Perfect. There we go. So three actions that we're going to take to stick to your spending plan better. And so this is, we're going to be talking today. We're going to go into lots of good tips and things like that. But really what we're doing is adding intention to your money, okay? That is going to be one of the biggest things. And each of these things that we're going to talk about today, you're going to be able to see that, you'll be able to see how doing these will add those intentional add that intention to your money. That is probably the one thing that is super, super important. If just by adding that intention and taking control of your money instead of letting other people or just kind of letting it do what it's doing, by grabbing that and making intentional decisions, you will find that you will be able to stick to whatever goals or spending plans you create, okay? So today we're going to talk about three different things. We're going to talk about being self-aware of what our spending is. And then we're going to talk about understanding our triggers to spend. I talk about this a lot, but it's very, very important to understand your triggers. And then finally, we're going to deal with our impulsive spending. A lot of times, there are unexpected expenses that come up, and sure, those are. But a lot of times, I find with moms in general is that we tend to purchase a lot of different things impulsively. Amazon and Target. I mean, all these things are actually, they market to us because we do that. And we tend to impulsively spend, especially when it comes to our kids or our families. So we're going to deal with that and talk about how that's going against everything that you're doing and everything that you're wanting to do. Okay. Let's go to here. So spending's bad, right? That's what everybody says. I think this goes against what most of the experts in our field talk about. Every time there's so much focus on what you shouldn't spend money on, and that spending is bad, and that you need to save this, and you need to do this, and you need to there's so much on that. And a lot of times it's even said, okay, to get out of debt, you need to not spend any money anywhere else. And I can tell you that's not true. I actually have clients that are getting out of debt and they're not restricting where it matters for them. So I don't think that spending's bad. This is wrong. I think you should enjoy your money, okay? When you add intention to how you spend, that means you have more money to spend on what's really important to you, right? So I am, when I coach clients and when I work with clients, I'm very much of there. This is a no judgment zone. Whatever makes you happy. I have clients that they really enjoy getting a cup of coffee. They like their Starbucks coffee for whatever reason it brings their joy. So I'm saying, okay, that's awesome. Let's keep that in the budget. Let's be intentional. What are you spending money on that you don't like as much as you like coffee? And by making that decision to kind of prioritize what makes us happy, we can actually spend more money on those types of things, right? And so I can't stand it when people say, you shouldn't spend your money on this. You should. You should spend your money however makes you happy. And I will never tell you how to spend your money. I will never tell you that you shouldn't spend anything. I know, and I know that goes against a lot of the experts in my field, but I really, really feel like that if you are able to spend money the way that makes you happy, you're going to be more motivated to do all the other things that you need to do. Okay. So that is, want to keep that kind of in our mindset of spending is not bad. Some of the impulsive stuff, that's what I have an issue with. That's what we want to work on. But spending in general, that's not what we're going to be talking about. Spending is not bad. So how can we have more money to spend each month? How can we be able to stick to our spending plans and have more money? And how does all of that work? Well, there's really three ways. And first, we need to understand where our spending is currently. So I want you to tell me below, comment below, let me know. Um, are you self-aware of your current financial situation? I want to know if you know how, if you could tell me right now how much you spend in fast food in the last month, or how much you spent on things that maybe you don't even like, or have you gotten an Amazon purchase and you were excited and then it got here and you're like, I didn't really need this. I feel guilty. I feel bad. And you have that feeling. How many of you can tell me that you are currently very self-aware of this? I find that most times we're not. I actually just had, I'm going to talk about how I work with, when I work with clients, how I get you through this process. But that's number one, is to really be self-aware. Next, we're going to know what we're triggered by. How are we triggered? So we need to understand what triggers us and why are we triggered. When we understand this, then we can take control of it. So if I understand that I'm triggered to buy coffee in the morning, because I drive by there, or because that's just in my head, I'm like, oh, I'm taking the kids to school, I need some coffee. In the morning, I really need coffee. In my head, it's maybe even an addiction. Coffee is caffeine for me, but in my head, I understand that trigger, right? And so now I can create processes, which is next three, is to deal with the unwanted spending. If I don't want to spend money on coffee, if I don't find that as valuable as spending money on, clothing, or spending money on vacations, or whatever else I want to spend money on, then I need to deal with a plan. I need to create a plan so that I don't do that anymore. If the reverse is true. If you enjoy spending money on coffee, then you absolutely should. But there's probably something else that you're not. So we have to understand this, and that's where this process really comes in. When you go through and you become self-aware, understand your triggers, and create that plan, this three-step process here, you will be able to stick to your budget or your spending plan so much easier. You will be able to set an amount and really be able to stick to it because you will understand it more. And you'll have more control of things. So, talking fast. So if you have questions, put them down in the comments and I will check at the end of it. I have it up here so I can kind of keep an eye on that. So, sorry, I'm trying to catch up here. Okay, we're next. So let's start with becoming self-aware of your money. So how do I do that? So with my clients, really what we do, the first thing we do is we audit our past spending. That is one of the first things we can do, because what I find with that, if you audit your spending and you see what you've done in the past 2 months before you were really aware of it or before you were really trying to do anything, I can't tell you, I've never had a client come back to me after doing this and say, oh yeah, it was what I thought it would be. They're like, oh my gosh, I was spending so much money in XYZ. I can't even believe it. If I controlled that, I would have so much more money. I just had a client go through my Jumpstart Your Finances program, and she found a whole bunch of money that she didn't even know was there, and now she can take that. I think she said $500. She can take that $500 and put it to what matters to her, and so that is so much more important, right? So we want to start with auditing our past spending, and then we can create a spending plan to match. So you create that spending plan based on what you currently do. Do not make a spending plan based on what you want it to do, because you're not there yet, right? You are spending money in ways that you don't necessarily want to right now. So you want to take what you were spending before, create a spending plan based off of that. And that is what I really do in my Jumpstart program. Is really, we look at your past spending and we create a spending plan, and then we work on next the problem areas, right? And so we identify those problem areas so that we can work on them. So this is what I do in that program, which I just got done with a group of beta clients that went through that. So I'm going to make some changes and then relaunching that. So if this sounds good to you, I want you to comment below Jumpstart, and I will get you the information on getting started with that. But as far as this is concerned, this is the action. So this is what we want you to get control of it. So in order to do that, you really have to understand and be self-aware of where you're currently spending your money. Okay, so let's go into the next step. So understanding your triggers. This is so important. I cannot tell you how many times this is changed, even for me. If you remember, I did a no spend challenge for myself in February because my husband and I, we felt like we were spending too much money on fast food and eating out because we had moved and life changes, and it would just gotten in the habit. And so we really did a no spend challenge. And what I had done is actually write down when I was triggered to spend money on fast food or eating out and things like that. And so when I was able to do that, I was able to identify what these triggers were. So I was able to identify that, you know what, in the morning, I feel like I want to get coffee. I also identified that when in the afternoon, when I pick up my kids, they're starving and they can trigger me to want to go through the drive-through and pick them up something. So I was able to understand these triggers by doing this. So how can you do it? So you can write down when you spend and why. No judgment, just write it down. Write down when you're spending and why you're spending. Keep a journal throughout the month, and this will help with step 3 that we're going to talk about in a second. But once you understand what is triggering you, for me, it's a lot of, kids tend to trigger me in a lot of different ways, and I think all of you probably have similar triggers. But understanding these triggers will let us do step 3, which we will talk about here, dealing with unwanted spending. So when we're able to deal with that, oops, sorry, I skipped ahead in my notes. I want to make sure I'm in there. So once we understand our triggers, once we understand what we're spending on and why, now we can deal with the things that we don't want to spend money on. So often I hear, oh, I spend money and I don't want to. It's just like I feel like I have to, or I feel that urge to. And actually, I'm going to pull it up here because you guys also commented here. Food related, boredom. Let's see here. All the wants, those types of things, impulse shopping, those types of things. Let's see, stress, which also can lead to impulsive shopping. Not writing them down, that's a self-awareness. More stress, lack of sleep, yes. I totally get that one too. That one just came in. When you have the lack of sleep, and that's why you need coffee. I have 3 kids. I rarely get to sleep as much as I want to. And so coffee is a big thing for me, and it has been for the last like 5 years. And so I always kind of get into this habit of buying coffee. And so when I don't pay attention to it, I do it more often. If I'm paying attention and say, oh, well, I've spent this much money on coffee this month, then I'm like, okay, let me deal with this unwanted because I don't want to spend money on coffee. I am just as happy to take coffee than I am to purchase it. So for me, having coffee from home is just as good as getting it from, in some cases better because sometimes they screw up my coffee. They don't put enough creamer in it. But understanding that, I said, okay, well, what can I do? How can I deal with this under one? So understanding your goals ahead of time, okay? What is the goal? For me, it's okay, I don't want to spend money on coffee. I want to actually save money because I want to make improvements to the house we just purchased. This house is older and we have lots and lots and lots of things to do. And actually, we were working out this weekend outside, and I cannot tell you how many things there are to do outside, and landscaping and things like that. So we want to spend money in that. So that's more important to me than spending, 10, 15, 20 bucks, depending on if you buy stuff for kids at the coffee place, right? So that's more important. So I want to deal with that. So understanding my goals ahead of time of saying, this is what my goal is. This is what I want to do. And so understanding that and then saying, okay, well, I have to deal. Well, creating a waiting period doesn't really apply for coffee, so we'll come back to it. But removing temptation. What do? I take coffee with me. If I have coffee and I found these really cute cups at Walmart, I thought I heard kid crying. And really cute cups from Walmart that were that color changing. They're $5. I was like, yes, I'm gonna take them. They're plastic and reusable, and they're just big enough for my coffee. And they change colors, which is always fun, right? So I spent the $5 on that, and then I stopped buying coffee. And I do that. Now the only time that I have that is if they're not clean, if I haven't washed them recently, and then I'll be like, oh well, I'm gonna get coffee. So I got to be more mindful of that. But you see how I understand that I don't want to spend money on coffee, and so I create a plan to deal with that. I remove the temptation. I make sure I bring it with me. I understand where I do want to spend my money. And so when you do this, then you're able to stick to your plan. So in my budget or in my spending plan, I don't have coffee money in there anymore because I'm dealing with that. So if I do, I have to use fun money, which is not what I want. I have other things I like to spend fun money on. So, so I have to be mindful of that. Now let's come back to this waiting period because this one's really important too. So the waiting period, this can apply to like shopping in stores or on Amazon or online shopping, things like that. So for if you, let's say you struggle with online shopping and Amazon shopping, if creating that waiting period for you to say, okay, well, I'm going to put this in the cart, but I'm not going to actually purchase it. When you do that, when you create those guidelines in that waiting period, when you come back to it, you're like, you know what? I don't really need it right now. I'm going to go ahead and put it in save for later. My save for later, guys, not kidding. I can post a picture later. I think it's over 250 items in my save for later on Amazon, because I move so much into that, and it's still there. So if I decide I do really need it at some point, it's there. My brain is satisfied with that. And so a lot of times if you create that process with the unwanted spending, if you go into the store, if you understand that one of your triggers, if you go into Target, that maybe you spend more just kind of roaming around, well then identify what are ways to create a waiting period for that. Oh, maybe you take a list into Target, and anything that's not on the list you have to get next time. You can write it down at the bottom so you remember it, because we want to find a way to remember it, and to put it somewhere. Our brain loves when it's put somewhere, even if it's not really something that we're looking at all the time. If you take an idea or you take something that you want and you put it somewhere, your brain is satisfied. It's okay, it's right there. I can go do it later. I don't have to do it right now, but it's right there. So doing those types of things, we can deal with the unwanted spending. So I hope all of this is making sense. If you have questions, A, I talk really fast, but B, if you have questions, put them down in the comments, and we can kind of talk. So here's the three things that I want you to take, because this is a review. Take from this, training and really start to implement into your life, to help you stick to your spending plans better. First, audit your spending. Take last month's expenses or spending, grab your bank statements, and really look and organize it and say, how much did I spend on each category, and really look at it and face that. Then, start understanding your triggers more often. Keep a journal of that, when you're spending money and why. Then finally, those things that don't bring you that joy in your life, and is not something that you really want to be spending money on, it's not as important maybe as some goals, deal with those unwanted spending. So create processes that you can deal with. And this is all and you can see there's so many different aspects of this. And this is why I work with clients to create a money system, because a money system deals with all of this. A money system tells you how, when, and where to spend money, and creates these processes for you. And that's what I do with my clients. And so this is really kind of in phase 2 of that process. But it's very, very important because it helps us identify those problem areas and change habits, and spending habits that are causing you to spend more money than you want to, and causing you to spend money on things that you don't want to spend money on. And so if you do these 3 things, you will find that you are able to stick to your spending plan effectively. Now, I know there's a whole aspect of this of unexpected things, and for that I did a training 2-3 weeks ago on your saving system, and that is so helpful in dealing with unexpected expenses. So if you need that training, let me know. Either comment below or send me an email at erica@odysseyfinancialcoaching.com, or you can DM me at any time and say, hey, can I get that training for the saving system? I'm happy to send that to you. That will help you deal with more of the unexpected expenses because you're able to kind of have money set aside for a lot of that. So if that's more of your issue with sticking to your spending plan, let me know. And if you haven't gotten that training, I will give that to you. So any questions, I want you to put them down in the comments. If you're watching this on the replay, when I've removed it from the group, you can absolutely send me a message on Facebook, or you can email me, and the email address will be below if you're watching this on the replay. So when you understand these spending plans, you can definitely be able to create that overall thing. Set goals, set spending limits. It's so, so important. So I want you to take action today. I want you to do something for me. I want you to comment below if what of one of these three, which one you're going to start. I would start with number one because it kind of goes in order, but which one are you going to start with? Well, how are you going to take action today? If you're struggling even to even get started with that, I want you to let me know. I have lots of things that we can do. I can give you the information for my Jumpstart program, which is kind of it gets everything started for you. I had actually a client just posted in the group about it. So if you want, check that post out. She talks about what she did in the program and the success that she's had. So if you're looking to really get Jumpstart and get that accountability and really know what to even do, comment below Jumpstart and I will get you the details on that. Or if you would like to get an assessment, I'll put the link for that in the comments as well. Okay, so lots of ways that I can support you. Even if you're not ready for coaching or ready for any extra help, take action and tell the group and let us all support you. Even if just let us know and let us all support in what you're doing and get that accountability and say, hey, you know what, I'm going to do an audit today. Hold me accountable for it. And guess what? We'll come back the next week and say, hey, did you do the audit? What'd you find? So it's very important to find that accountability in one way or the other so that we actually follow through on some of that stuff. So I hope this training has helped you. If you have any questions, please, like I said, feel free to reach out to me directly in all the ways that I have talked about. Until then, I hope you guys have a great week this week, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.